What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick.
My name is Dave.
And this is the Deep Dive. And the first thing I got to say is, Dave, welcome back to the country.
Yes.
You were out of the country last week, and I'd like to spend a little time maybe on the outside of the intro, just talking a little about it, hearing about it. But how are you doing overall?
Well, I hit the ground running.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Let's get into this podcast, shall we?
Let's just do it. Let's just go straight in. Well, Dave, like we said, you just got back from a mission trip over in Costa Rica. Tell us a little bit about
it. It was an awesome experience. I'd never been to Costa Rica. I'm counting off the Central American countries. The only ones I haven't been to Panama, and I haven't been to Nicaragua.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll be going to Nicaragua, but I've been now to every other country. And so I was kind of excited about doing that, seeing what Costa Rica was like, and it's a beautiful country. We were in San Jose, which is the capital city, and it is a big, very crowded city with the worst traffic I've ever seen.
Really?
Oh God, traffic was just a mess. But we worked with two missionaries down there, one who is more local, although he is Colombian, but he had moved many 30 years ago to...
So he's been there a while.
He's been there a while and has a mission there called Connections. Mm-hmm. And the American missionary that we actually stayed with and works very closely with him in the things that he does. And they are awesome. I mean, they work with schools, which part of what we did was we would go into schools and work. The first day we were there with high school kids, and so we were in their classrooms, and it was an openness and just kind of talking about character development and that sort of things, working with those kids, and they were so interested, and it was just a lovely experience. And all of our team, it was a little bit out of their comfort zone with some of them because through a translator he wanted them to tell their stories.
Yeah.
And the kids were just riveted with all that, because I think we're unique. We're American.
Sure.
And so I really enjoyed that. The thing, I guess, that I would take away as maybe the most meaningful was the work that they do with the homeless there. And this guy has got a very unique way in which he does it. We spent the greater part of one day actually preparing a delicious meal for them. Rice and beans and things like that.
Nice.
And we all got to cook and prepare and put that all together. We had, I think, 300 meals,
wow.
Which we gave out.
That's awesome.
And so we went down into the streets of San Jose and into areas, where the homeless were. And there were a couple of places we went where the homeless would generally gather to be fed. They knew other groups besides us, work with the homeless there. But he seemed to get the ones that sort of slipped through the cracks. So we would go down these side streets, and there would be a little group of like 3 or 4 that were there. They were all very appreciative and lots of gratitude and stuff like that. And then at one point, we actually went into a homeless shelter, and there's probably 100 men in there. And they were having a little Bible study.
Oh, cool.
And so I got to do a little sharing in there. And again, that was just a real highlight of the trip. And so, but the other folks on the trip, we all got real close and had a great time together. We'll be doing a presentation to the church here in a few weeks. I'm not sure when that will be. One of our team members, Mary Ann Laughlin's, having some pretty serious surgery this week. And so I talked to her this morning. We're going to wait till she gets back, and I'm not sure when that's going to be. So the church can look forward to that, and I think be encouraged. And I would encourage anybody to begin making plans to go next year when we go, because it was worth doing.
You always know it's a really good mission trip when people come back and they say kind of what you said to me yesterday. You went, I think I got way more than I put into it, and not that it's about, you just go to serve, but it's just amazing what God does through that service space.
Everybody we met was so kind, and they're so committed. The missionaries that we worked with were so committed to what they're doing. We went to a church service on the Sunday. We got there on a Saturday, and we went to church service on Sunday, and it was just a powerful time. People have asked me what it was like. It was very much like our service in a way. More than I have been on mission trips before, where it's been very uniquely different. The songs that they sang, they were all songs we sing on the modern worship services, but in Spanish, and I love that when I see that, the different takes on that, and the worship was wonderful. And then the pastor's sermon, I know enough Spanish to kind of follow.
Got the idea of it at least.
Yeah, but his whole style was very. I mean, it could have been a sermon I did. I mean, it was like a lot of multimedia and stuff in there. So I felt right at home, and it was. They had communion, and so I got to take communion with them. And
it was World Communion Sunday, so that kind of added an extra layer to it.
They didn't acknowledge that like maybe we would here, but for me, I knew it, and so that made it very special. So, anyway, it was a great time. It was a great time, and I'm still catching up from that. I got back on Friday night. We got delayed. Ended up having to go to Miami because of Atlanta airport closed, and then we finally got in. I went to bed after 2, and then I had to get up and do a funeral on Saturday, and then church on Sunday, and then I've got the interment for that service this afternoon. And then we got a lot of stuff happening here with a pumpkin patch, getting ready for trunk or treat,
Wednesday nights,
all the fall programs that we've got going on. So it is a very busy time in the life of Hickory Flat Church. But it is
October always seems to just collide of craziness.
Oh my gosh, it is so busy that this week is slammed. But I'm glad and happy to talk about what we did on Sunday.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we actually started a series called Generosity and Discipleship.
Right.
We are entering our stewardship season at the church. It kind of fits well as we're thinking about budgets, as we're thinking about how and what we're feeling called to do next year in ministry, kind of aligning our resources with some of those things. So, Dave, why don't you kind of get us rolling? What did we talk about? What are we going deeper into?
Well, it is this thing that rolls around about this time every year. We're actually doing it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, normally I think we hit November.
We've been doing it in November and kind of having like our Pledge Sunday around Thanksgiving. We're getting a little bit of a head start on it this year, just so we get a running start on next year.
Yeah.
Where we are in the life of the church, I think we're in a good place. We are, we went through some things, I mean, COVID's been a while now, but, because it was such a big thing, it's taken a while, I think, for churches everywhere. And certainly we're part of that to really recover and, don't see quite as many people that maybe you did before. In worship services, giving down from that time. Then we went through, of course, the Methodist Church disaffiliation, and that hurt us, both attendance and financially. But we're recovering of that. And so I think we've gotten enough years that we can look and see, we're better off this year than we were last year, and we see that in both attendance and giving, but we still got a ways to go because we've got some dreams, you know. We've got a dream for a new building, we got a new dream for new ministries and that sort of thing. So discipleship is a place where we all need to grow. And so the title of the series is what is Generosity and Discipleship. And what I'm really hoping to stress through this is that our generosity, our giving and serving and all that we do, prayers, presence, gifts, service, it all goes into it, is part of discipleship. Yep. And to get ourselves in a position so that God can work on our hearts to make us more generous in what we do, And so, we began there. Mm-hmm. And I started off with this ridiculous illustration about us being a documentary film crew.
Yeah, all of us, all 200 of us.
All 200 going up in a big crew. But going down to a place like the Mill or downtown Woodstock or whatever and asking the question, what do you want out of life? Mm-hmm. And so, I ask you, what do you want out of life?
Yeah, I was thinking about, when you were talking about that, I was like, man, what are the things I want out of my life? And really, I feel very basic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to be I want to be happy. I want to be with my family. You know what I mean? I don't want to stress over things and just be able to go serve and do the stuff that I love to do.
Yeah.
Like nothing crazy.
And I think that is a universal thing.
Yeah.
And, happiness is fleeting for sure. And sometimes I think it's important to understand that there's a difference between happy, in a broad sense, and joy. Those two things are different, but we do seek happiness.
Yeah.
And I pointed out that we have this thing that we say in the United States, that we are all seeking life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Right.
That's a freedom that we all enjoy. So what happiness is, I think, so if we were to ask that, stick a mic in somebody's face, with the documentary crew and say, what do you want out of life? There's going to be some version of, I just want to be happy. Yeah. I just want the things that you're talking about. I want a good life for my kids.
Healthiness.
All this stuff. I want to be healthy in my life. I want to enjoy life. I want to be happy. And so how people pursue that is, I think, people maybe have a different strategy. Some people are seeking fame. Some people are seeking power, that sort of things. That's where they think the key to happiness, their happiness is going to be if they just have more, of something. But a big thing that people talk about is money. I just wish I had more money. If I just had a little bit more money, that would make me happy. And so, I made the point that that saying money can't buy happiness, I don't think we're fully convinced of that.
Yeah.
I think we say that, but I think that all of us, if we're being super, super honest, think, maybe it won't, but maybe just a little bit more would make me happy.
I feel like it would eliminate some maybe of the stresses that we go through.
I think that's true. And I do think there's some studies that have talked about that there is this sort of point where, people that are living in poverty, I mean, life is so much more difficult, but we are blessed.
Yes,
and so,
absolutely.
But we do have this idea that money is going to be a key. And so part of what, and I mentioned a study, I mentioned two things. First of all, an article that I saw about there is this happiness meter thing that comes out, how happy is the country, and what are the country where most people are happy. And so I think the happiest country in the world is Denmark. Mm-hmm. And so, I didn't read all of it to see, what is contributing to that. But they had several things. I think it was called the Cantrell scale that they do every year. But America, United States of America, is, and I'm saying that because I just came from America, but Central America. But the United States of America, we don't do well in that. Yeah. We are generally not a very happy country. And we've been blessed so much, it's hard to understand why aren't we happier. And this year, 2025, it's the lowest we've ever scored on that. Wow. And so, why? And I think part of it is this pursuit of money or power or fame or whatever. And I think why Jesus, in his teaching, a lot of the stuff that our strategies of how we're going to find happiness are the opposite of what a lot of things that Jesus taught. Jesus said, that, the humble will be exalted and the exalted will be humbled. Those who will be last
shall be first.
And that's what does that even mean? Because it's so contrary to how we think about what will lead to the good life or our happiness, how we treat our enemies, our adversaries. Jesus said we should love them, and pray for them. And, we're being modeled that, we need to annihilate our enemies and, do things to, put them down more rather than, finding that common ground and loving them and listening and interest. So, but because we are in stewardship, we looked at money. And so there was this other study that I had looked at where I think from a psychological, sociological way of how people think about money. and that there is a correlation with generosity, that when we are generous, we are happier. And in this article I read, it talks about, the endorphins that we have, the things, we those endorphins might go off when we order stuff from Amazon too. I mean, that's the addiction thing that we have to buying stuff, but it's fleeting. It only lasts for a minute. Like we get this high because we got this new thing, but then
it's done. Yeah.
It's done. It's
on
over.
To the next thing.
But generosity, on the other hand, does lead to greater happiness. And so maybe, and this is a point I think I'll revisit each week, maybe money can buy happiness. We're just spending it in the wrong way. Ooh. We're spending it on ourselves. We're hoarding it up and not, spending it on others or finding ways to grow in generosity. And so generosity and growing in generosity, I think, is a part of discipleship. And so as we're going to look at, over these 3 weeks, we're going to look at 3 pretty common teachings of Jesus on money and how we handle money. And the first one, we talked about, came from Matthew 6, where Jesus is talking about, where we store up treasures. And he says, don't store up treasures on earth, store up treasures in heaven. And so, we've all heard that, but what does that mean, and how do we apply it? And then he goes off into this part where he talks about your eyes, and he that if your eye is good, if there's light there, and then it talks about if your eye is bad, then there is there's darkness. And so that the translation there that I pointed out, because we use eyes as a illustration for a lot of things. Eyes are the gateway to the soul and all that kind of stuff. But the way that means eyes there, what he is talking about is generosity. If your eye is generous, then you'll be filled with light and goodness. And if your eyes are stingy, then you won't be. So,
I'd like to know. If you weren't in service, he had a good slide for this when he started talking about the eyes with just a bunch of eyeballs popped up. Yeah. And before you said anything, I was like, I wonder where he's going to go with this. And then you're kind of still like, I made this slide, and now I'm not sure why.
For that slide, if you haven't seen it, you'll have to go back and watch it, because it was one of those deals that I created all of that before I left to go on the trip, and I was rushing, trying to get everything done before I left. And so I got back Saturday afternoon, and I said, why did I do that?
Why did I do this one?
It's kind of creepy. Yeah. And Bob Cox, I don't know if you know this about him, but he has this thing about holes. Like if he sees holes, it's just like this idiom thing that he has where he gets creeped out by it. He said that it looked like all these holes.
Oh gosh, poor guy! You just gave him a nightmare.
Yeah, but the point is that I think about that scripture from the parable of the workers in the vineyard, where all the workers are hired at different times of the day.
Get the denarius.
Yeah, they get the denarius, and then at the end of the day, when they're being paid, the people that were hired first got the same as the people who got hired last and only worked for an hour. And so, those people that were hired first, they're really rebelling about it and getting on to the land manager and saying, this is not fair. And he said, why are you agreed to work for this, and I've done exactly what I said I would. Why are you, coming back at me? And then he said, are you, because I'm being generous. Why is your eye evil? And so it's the same word. Yeah. I wish I had known that when I preached it a few weeks ago. But, it's the same weekend. He's talking about like this stingy eye, this greedy eye. And so, as we're growing in generosity, I think it can be a sort of a power hole. Maybe those creepy eyes
will haunt us.
We don't want to have those creepy eyes.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where we left it with week 1. And we will continue to sort of dig down into stewardship. And my whole goal, I guess, through this is that we sort of open up our hearts against something that I think is also sort of gets embedded because of the culture. And sometimes I think even the way we teach it in the church, that we look at giving as more transactional. We're giving
to get
something.
back.
And we do get something, but it may not be what we think we're going to get.
Yeah.
We get to have a happy life, a more fulfilled life, a more abundant life when we give, and we give with generosity, not expecting something in return.
Right.
You know, kind of like on the mission trip. I think there's part of us that go down there, hey, we're going to go on a mission trip, and we're going to go down there and make this difference. And, you know, we're doing these things for these people. And what we discover is we get something.
Yeah.
We get much more, and much more, if I can say this, much more of building, you know, those treasures in heaven.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you can't put it into words how it changes and transforms our hearts. And so, I think that's the goal. We want to have our hearts transformed to be more giving. And you know, and doing that, I feel like God's going to take care of us. And so whatever goals or dreams or aspirations that we have as a church, God's going to provide. God has provided. Yeah. Even though our giving hasn't been what we all hope that it will become, we're growing in that, and as we're growing in faith. And God has taken care of us. You know, we haven't had to lay anybody off. Our programs are still going strong. You know, we have struggles sometimes, but God always finds a way to help us.
We've always been taken care of
us.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, I was sitting here trying to think of, you know, if we ask the question, what are some practical ways we could practice generosity this week? And, you know, as I was kind of just thinking through it, and maybe give you some time to think about the answer too, but I was just thinking, man, there's so many ways that you could even just real quick at the church, you know, for trunk or treat, we still need candy. We still need hot dogs. There's some generosity in bringing those things. There's some generosity of the time you have. You know, we got slots at the pumpkin patch that can be filled. But I was also thinking just like, but what are the things at home or when you're out with your friends and stuff you can do as well? And a lot of that is just being present in the space with them and giving people time, which time feels very precious, but there might be space where it's like, no, I need to go see this friend who might be feeling bad, or I might need to go check in with this person who I just haven't seen in a while. And those are ways of being generous as well, is, you know, and I love that about the Methodist Church, that it's our time, our efforts, our gifts, our, you know what I mean? Like all of those things combined. And I think when we start seeing that we have the ability, and generally we have space to give of a lot of our resources, I don't know why, we like to tend to like hold on to our things. It's like, I don't want to give too much. I'm afraid to give too much. But I think when we really have an honest assessment, there's a lot we can give still.
I think what you just said, that is right on. I mean, those are great points of how our prayers, presence, gift, service, and witness, how we are giving in that. And certainly there's boundaries and self-care and all of that around that. But still, how are we being stewards of the time that we have, of the resources that we have, the gifts that God has given us, you know? And that's another thing that I just hope we all have some epiphany moments for people, is that I know that there are people who are thinking, you know, I'm older, or my kids are at such an age that I just don't really have any time. You know, I'm driving here and there. But yet, if we're all honest, and if we look at the resources that we have, there are ways, I think, that we can share and be generous in that.
Right, and you might not be able to do all of the things at once, but maybe it's, you know what, I have a little bit of extra money I could do something with this month, or I have a little bit of extra time this month I could do something with.
Right. I don't need to buy this new gadget. I'm going to give it to some mission or give it to the church or whatever. Or, I am tired, but maybe I, do have more time than I think that I do, even though it would be nice to chill out and watch TV.
Yeah.
Maybe, I'll take a few minutes and call that person that is going to have surgery, or that person that I know is going through a difficult time, and just tell them I'm praying for them.
Yep.
Good stuff. And you never know what difference that's going to make for that person. But then, like the mission trip thing, what difference it's going to make to us. And it's not so that we build ourselves up and say, "Oh, I'm such a good person because I did this thing." Most of the time, the things that at least I find myself that I do in secret. It's far more rewarding.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm with you.
Yeah.
And it actually kind of flows a little bit, as you were saying, that makes it kind of flow out of what I talked about even the week before. Is just these small things that we can do.
Right.
Lead to growth and stuff like that.
By the way, it was a great sermon. I did get to watch it, and it was kind of a good prelude into this stewardship time that we're going into.
Yeah.
That must have been in your mind a little bit.
Maybe a little.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's it's this time of year, and I know that talking about money in church can be a little tricky, can sometimes make us feel uncomfortable, and so I think we might do sort of an assessment of that too. Why does it make us feel uncomfortable? And I think it's because there's parts of us that are reluctant to change, but I do think it will be a good change. And, I'm very encouraged by the state of the church of where we are right now. And so we just continue to do that. And I'm hoping that this series, this campaign to, with the pledge cards coming, I think it's going to be a time that we're all going to be able to see the blessings that God has given us. And that will help us grow as a church.
For sure. For sure. Well, Dave, thank you so much for kind of getting us started on this. Really coming in hot, like you said, from your mission trip and getting right back to it. But I think this will be a good season for us to kind of reconsider or rethink about how are we using what resources we do have and all that good stuff. And we'll continue talking about that for the next couple weeks. And I think we'll also kind of in this season with doing some pledge cards and stuff like that to kind of get an idea for next year. Yeah. So just kind of be thinking through some of that. But Dave, you got anything to add here at the end?
Can't think of anything.
All right.
Just hope to see everybody in church on Sunday.
There we go.
And throughout the week, because there's lots of activities this week. We won't go into them, but
lots going on.
Lots going on this week. So it's good. It's good. It's harvest time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
Fall. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, you can drop it below in the comments section below on YouTube, Facebook, all those places. And we'll see you guys next time.
All right. God bless everybody.
Take care.